Camp folks, we hear you. Everybody is talking about how they're going to staff this summer, given the here comes that all too familiar word again, uncertainty that lies ahead. And we also know that if you start with your current staff, the folks who were supposed to work for you in 2020, the folks who are staff alums who have worked for you in the past, you know that they can be some of the best and finest advocates for why a job at summer camp is the best job ever. Today, we discuss 9 quick-fire ways to surprise and delight your current staff, whether that's right now during the off-season or while you're in the midst of the joys of summer camp.
Welcome to Camp Code, a podcast brought to you by Go Camp Pro. We have created and are dedicated to this podcast because we believe that staff training is one of, if not the most important part of your job as a camp director. Staff training is what prepares your staff to care for their campers, to feel confident in their skills, to do their jobs to the best of their ability, and to learn along the way. A well thought out and intentional staff training will help you in more ways than you can imagine, and we need to help each other bring our very best. Before we dive into our topic today, let's introduce our co-hosts. So Beth, will you start us off?
Absolutely. I am Beth Allison. I'm co-owner of Camp Hacker and Go Camp Pro. And after 15 years as a director, I now have the privilege of working as a camp consultant. And my focus is, of course, intentional leadership training and helping camps to build solid and supportive communities.
Awesome. Gabrielle.
And my name is Gabrielle Raill. I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Woro. Camp Woro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, Canada, and we focus on creating a positive female community, and we do that while speaking in French and in English.
And my name is Ruby Compton. I'm the Chief Exploration Officer for Ruby Outdoors, which is just a fancy way for me to say I'm self-employed. And I spend time being a friend and supporter to camp in lots of different ways. And I work from the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains, just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. My friends, today's topic is 9 quick fire ways to surprise and delight your staff. And we know that's something we need to do for our parents and our clients and our campers, but we want to take this idea of surprising and delighting folks and apply it to our staff as we head into this tricky staffing season. So today we've got 9 of our best tips for you to take home and use this year. Beth, will you start us off with your first one?
I would be happy to. I have a few ideas today, and my first ones cost money. But as many of you know, I grew up in not-for-profit camping, so they're not a lot of money. So how about bracelets or leather bands that are customizable or have beads that can be added as their camp career grows? So we had ones made, they're leather bands for to give out to our clients and to the people who work with us. And it had our Go Camp Pro logo on it, but you can have them personalized, made with your camp logo or any other sorts of things that you are looking to highlight or looking to celebrate. And I think they'd be great holiday gifts at this time of year. I also know that Tom Holland's camp, Wilderness Adventures, I believe it's called, gives out duck bands. So these are the kind of bands that are actually put on ducks to help track them when they're in the wild, and they cost about a nickel a piece, and they're engravable and they can be placed on a bracelet or on a necklace. And I'm pretty sure Tom uses climbing rope, so something really, really campy. So you could have ones for people who go on special wilderness trips, or maybe ones who were lit directors, or ones who were for staff who are on staff for more than 2 years. You can make up whatever you want. It's a really great source of pride to collect them and then to create new ones to be given out. Like these are for the folks who swam across the lake and back, or who have led over 100 songs at campfire this summer. Like whatever you want, just make them up. I also think stickers are always a very appreciated camp staff gift. So a special run limited edition are also a great source of pride. And we use Sticker Mule. They often have special promos and you can get a ton of stickers for little money, and they do a really nice job. So I think that any small trinkets that only that year of staff have, or those who have been to your camp, or those maybe who have survived camp in a pandemic, are really treasured and appreciated. And it makes them feel a part of something important and unique. And then it becomes this tangible reminder of a special time in their lives or something they overcame with really hard work and dedication. So maybe not a lot of money, a little bit, but some real thought, and you can personalize it.
And I love anytime you can have something that folks are wearing or carrying or displaying that gets folks talking about camp, right? So think about what can you put on that sticker or that thing that makes people go, huh, what is that? And ask the question. Tell me about this thing on your arm, because that is where I find the most organic conversations happen for word of mouth marketing, for getting staff or for getting campers, either way. But I think that's really smart. Awesome. Thanks, Beth. Gabrielle, what's your first tip?
I would go with reaching out to staff members during exam time. So if you're looking for a route that doesn't cost anything, send out a mini personalized video to each staff member. If you have so many staff members that's not realistic, ask your leadership team members or alumni to participate. And they say, we're thinking of you during this time. It's exam time. We know you've got it. We just want to let you know that we appreciate the work that you've done this summer, and what you do is important. Good luck, et cetera, et cetera. If you have a little bit of finances in your budget, why not set out a personalized, camp, happy fun, whichever your name of your camp is, on a highlighter, and send out a highlighter. There's like those highlighter combo pens that you can send out. They're not too expensive to ship as well, with a personalized note. So those are times where it's tough for our staff members, and it's nice that they know that you're just reaching out to say hey, and that we appreciate you, and that we're thinking of you. And for those staff members that are no longer in school, why not reach out and say, we know you're doing great work, or good luck in your first big job, whatever life scenario they might be in at that moment. So I think around exam time is a great time to reach out to your staff to say that we're thinking of you.
Awesome. And my tip's going to jump right onto that. A couple other tools that I really love that I've used for reaching out to folks and sending these personal messages that often land with the impact of, wow, I can't believe Ruby took that time to send me this personal message. So I'm a big follower of Bonjoro. I think it's a great tool. It's super easy to upload a list of emails and then even assign that out to folks. But you have an app on your phone where it'll just pull up the next email. You can record your message and send. And so just with a few clicks, you don't even have to do a bunch of uploading and put it into this app or change this format. They make it super easy. Also, Marco Polo is an awesome resource. Think about maybe using that with leadership team or certain groups of folks. Setting up some Marco Polo groups could be fun, and a fun way to reach out to folks and to continue the conversation, even asking interesting questions and having folks respond back. We have a small group of moderators for the COVID Slack who we have a Marco Polo, and occasionally somebody will throw out a question. Things even like, do you like your Pop-Tarts frosted or not frosted, right? It's just fun to hear people's conversation around that. It's a nice way to I don't know, have some casual conversation and fun. Beth, did you have something on that?
Oh, I was just going to say it's a very important question, and we need the answer.
Well, I am a believer in frosted Pop-Tarts over unfrosted, but also I'm a believer in untoasted Pop-Tarts over toasted.
What?
Yeah, I know. I think they get a weird flavor when you toast them. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the Gilmore Girls never toasted their Pop-Tarts either.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. So those are two that are video softwares, and then a couple that are audio only. The app Voxer, it's kind of like using walkie-talkies. It doesn't go like or anything like that, but that's a little bit how the design is, this idea that you can record these audio messages back and forth. And then a new tool that we've been playing with in the Go Camp Pro world is Yak. So if you're using Slack, Yak integrates really well into that for recording voice messages. And they're still a platform that's in development, but and they're kind of figuring it out, and the user interface is still something to kind of be figured out. But I do think they're onto something about the idea of getting rid of meetings and being able to kind of get information out asynchronously. So think about how that might be a useful tool for you. I love being able to use Marco Polo with folks that I've collaborated on projects with, because I can just go for a walk and start talking to them, and then they can listen to it on their time. We don't have to set up a Zoom call, but I can get that information out. And then when we do meet, they already have a fair amount of information. So think about how you can do that to, again, surprise and delight your staff. Any thoughts on those three before we move on?
I'm just going to save mine for the next round.
Yes.
All right. Well, stay tuned because we've got 2 more rounds to go. And for now, we have a quick message from a sponsor. This episode of the Camp Code podcast is brought to you by Go Camp Pro's 5-Minute Fridays.
Again?
Yep, again.
Because
this is 20 minutes of extraordinary professional development delivered to your inbox every Friday for less than $10 a month. And if you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth, you can totally end your subscription after 1 month. Beth, I just sent you some of the topics we covered this fall. Can you read that list?
Okay. Supporting staff in stressful times, preparing to hire for 2021, give your staff 20% of your work week now, where to find a great leadership team, building confident leader. Wait a minute, Ruby, these are all videos that I did.
Yep, and they are SMRT smart. In addition to Beth dropping knowledge each week about how to build the best staff team ever, Travis Allison is sharing his finest camp hacks for connecting with parents, and he talks about the language he tells his clients to use that make parents want to buy camp for their kids. Matt Hansberger, executive producer of podcasting here at Go Camp Pro, is making videos across the gamut of his camp experiences, from socially distanced games to strategic planning and how to start a podcast at your camp. It's all so good.
And Ruby, aren't you filming videos too?
Oh yeah, I made a video about kayaking and zombies and dinosaurs.
What?
Well, you'll just have to sign up to find out what that's all about.
And you've recorded videos about establishing brave spaces for tough conversations, consent language, and your favorite scheduling hacks. There's really good stuff there.
Thanks, Beth. But really, I'm most proud of the kayaking dinosaur zombie video. I'm so proud of it. In fact, I'm even going to give our Camp Code listeners a link to a behind the scenes video about making that particular 5-Minute Friday. You can check out the show notes for this episode for that link. And while you're at it, go to gocamp.pro/5MF, that's the number 5, the letter M, the letter F, to sign up for 5-Minute Fridays. All right, everybody, and we're back, and we're continuing with 9 quick-fire tips to surprise and delight your staff. Beth, what's your next idea to share?
Well, I find it's often difficult, but obviously so incredibly important to appreciate our staff in a way that brings them real joy, because everybody is different. So what may make one staff member feel recognized and acknowledged may not have the same meaning for another. So why not ask them what makes them happy and feeling appreciated? So during staff training, you can hand out an index card to each staff member and ask them to fill in the following information. So top right corner, what 60-minute activity that we do at camp makes you feel really happy? And people might fill in things like canoeing or crafting. Top left corner, what would you like to learn to do better at camp this summer? So somebody could fill in stuff like hit a bullseye in archery or get to the top of the climbing wall. Bottom right corner, what $3 gift would bring sunshine to your day at camp? So it could have been something that I could have bought for them in town, like a bag of Oreos or goldfish crackers. Bottom left corner, if no money was spent, but time was involved, what small gift would bring a smile to your face? So some of my staff said things like wildflowers or a homemade card. And then in the middle of the card, I had them fill in what words would I want to hear that would make me feel I had done a really good job. And then you ask them to put their name in big bold letters on the back. You collect them, alphabetize them, and keep them in a safe place, like a recipe card holder or something. And whenever you want to recognize their great efforts or congratulate them for their hard work, you know exactly what will do it specifically for them, like offering them a guitar lesson by you or a member of your staff if you're not a guitar player, or simply sneaking in and dropping off a Coke and some Doritos on their desk. And you can use this idea also for asking other questions of your staff, like, what do you need when you are feeling completely overwhelmed? Or what do you need when you get angry and frustrated? So, for example, some people might say, I just need a 10-minute walk, or I need a friend to talk to. But it's just a helpful way to get to know your staff better and make them feel like an individual whose needs are taken into account. So I found this really helpful when I had a lot of people's needs to take into account and when a lot of my staff were just different than I am. And this way we can be assured that they feel special.
I love that idea so much. That is brilliant. I love how you got so many different pieces of information on the one card, and also a little bit aligned with the love languages, right? You kind of like tapped into each one of those, which I think is so brilliant. Awesome. Thanks for that share, Beth. Gabrielle, how about you?
Um, when staff members are hired, think about how you can celebrate their job for that summer. One of the things that we're doing this year is different from other years. We would usually wait until about May and then do a whole sort of, these are the staff members, and we put it on Instagram. This year we're not waiting. We're sharing as we're hiring staff members. And one of the pieces that we've added is our other camp director, Jackie, is acting almost like a reporter on our Insta Live piece channel and saying, we are so excited that this summer, breaking news that Ruby Compton will be working at Camp Waro as our, X, Y, and Z awesome staff member. The key to this is that she's supposed to do it in random places, as random as possible. So she was in Costco with her mask on. She's in the parking lot of the vet while she's shoveling the stairs down at camp. She is in these different areas and announcing the staff member. The other piece that was important is that it's not, she doesn't ramble off 5 different staff members' names. It's one staff member per location. It's a challenge that we're taking on, but we're seeing immediately staff members engaging, sharing that story, looking forward to when their story is going to come on, where's Jackie going to be during that time. So I'd really think on how can you celebrate your staff members as they're getting hired, and what can you do to make it special for them. And of course, on the business side of things, it is difficult right now to hire staff members. It isn't easy because of the uncertainty that we talked about at the beginning of the summer. So we do want to see, as they're every staff member that's hired, it's worth a celebration. So that would be a challenge, but also borrow the idea of using your Instagram or Facebook social media feeds and celebrate that staff member.
That is utterly brilliant.
So brilliant. It's so great. I love the idea of breaking news too. Like, and that's kind of how it happens as a camp director. I love that, kind of peeling back the curtain, right? That you're in your office doing something and the hiring manager comes in and is like, so-and-so signed on, and that really happens. So I think it's cool you're giving them a little glimpse of that.
It's very exciting, and it's also cool. It's cool to think who's going to be that reporter. And I think for us, Jackie, it's fun because she's not on Instagram very often. She feels a little bit awkward, which you can see, but that is fun as well, and she owns it. And I think that what we also have followed on our permanent part of Instagram is a picture, their profile pic, who they are, why we chose them, and they get to write a little piece as well, and they can share that. So I think you have that piece, but then there's the fun part that doesn't take much planning, and it gets your families excited as well. But definitely the staff are happy to hear Jackie say their name.
I love that. And also speaks to the kind of short attention spans we have on social media. So I think that's smart.
Right.
Breaking it up into those smaller pieces, which I'm going to give a tip that is completely opposite of that, which is I think it's a smart idea sometime here in the next couple of months before you get really deep into hiring and all the flurry of stuff that happens right before camp, is to do a state of camp address. And you can even use the hashtag, SOCA. I didn't Google if that is anything else inappropriate, so you might want to check that first. But think about a hashtag you could use. And I would consider maybe even doing that for your families as well, but I would do one specifically for your staff and have it live streamed, or get on your Instagram or do a Zoom call and really let staff in to what is going to be different this year? What's been going on at camp? That's one of the best things when you're a seasonal staff member, when you get that note about like, this is what's coming this year. And I remember loving that and feeling like I was being brought into the fold when that kind of information was shared. So why not make that be an event? Why not pick a day that folks are talking about and leading up to? And maybe it becomes part of a larger marketing event where you do one for the staff, then you do one for the camper families, and some of the staff are there. Maybe they can answer questions in breakout rooms, offer some connection points with the families, but bring the staff into the fold and make it be an event. And I could see really simply creating some very simple graphics that can go online to pump folks up about it. And again, it's an awesome time to tap to your staff and say, hey, we still need some help recruiting. Like, have you thought about coming back to camp this summer? Do you know someone who'd be great for it? Here's some of the positions we're still looking to fill. Here's specifically what we're looking for. Here's something we need help with. It's an awesome way to get them involved. So think about how you can create that state of your camp address this year. All right, moving on. We've got one more round of tips. So Beth, one more round. What you got?
I think my final one is to just say it with words, to acknowledge out loud what you love and appreciate about them. And you can do this individually with handwritten cards or letters, or use Bonjoro or Marco Polo, as Ruby said, to send them a thoughtful video that allows them to hear your voice saying how important they are to you. At the end of every summer, I wrote a letter to my resource staff. So these were the folks who were with me for 4 months and who were at camp for the final campfire of the season. So they always stayed a few extra days at the end of the summer to finish reports or finalize budgets and clean up their program areas and so on. And this was when our counselors and other staff had already gone home. So on their very last night, we would have one final campfire together, and I would read a letter of thanks. And it started off by thanking them as a whole, but then I always had a paragraph about each one of them that I read aloud, highlighting their individual talents, their hard work, and their dedication, and what I would be missing most about them. And it was a way for me to not only share with them why they were so special to me and to camp, but it also allowed their peers to hear it too. So I prepared copies of the letter for each of them. I would tie them with a pretty ribbon and give them out for them to take home as a keepsake. And they sounded something a little like this. Ruby, I am so grateful for your energy, your willingness and excitement to take on new projects, to jump out on limbs that you've never climbed before, and to give each one of them your all. Not only am I so thankful for your desire to learn, to grow, and not be complacent, but the world is made for discovery for you, and I love the way you gently encourage me along on this ride, even if I am somewhat hesitant and uncertain. Watching you grow into a strong, confident woman these past 8 years has been an honor and a privilege for me. And Gabs, what would I do without your insight and sensitivity to my needs and my moods? I can always count on you to hear what I'm saying and not saying, and that is such a gift to me. I am so thankful for your generosity of time to work on any new project, so admiring of your ability to zero in on what's important and what we need to say, and your creative mind, which generates so many new ideas for our industry and our camp code work. Thank you both for making me better and keeping me going. So take the time to thank your staff very personally. Be specific. And if you're concerned that they might find it a little too much or too overwhelming to hear in front of other people, then you can do what I did and do it in the dark by firelight, or simply mail them your thoughts or send them your video or leave a little note on their pillow one night in their cabin. But no matter how you do it, it's these words that will have lasting impact for your people. So that's my final tip.
And there goes Beth Allison, surprising and delighting both of us too. Good job. Well done. That was very kind.
That was so nice, Beth. Thank you so much. I was thinking, oh, I wish this was recorded, and it is.
And I think that's a great point. Like, if you do write this out, I think when you can share it with folks afterwards, that they do have the chance to go back and pick it up and read it when they need to, is really key.
Yeah.
Love that. And I want to add on to that one as well, because you said that. I'm going to change my last one, but a hat tip to Kim Acock. She said once the idea of doing that, giving folks that very specific praise and doing it via voicemail. And so I would call my staff when I knew they were at camp and they didn't have their phones on them and leave a voicemail telling them how great they were. It doesn't cost me anything but time, which is valuable. But then they can go back and play at any time. And a lot of them, it was weeks before they discovered it, which was also really fun. So
That is really fun.
They probably thought that they were in trouble.
Yeah.
Like they got a voicemail from you and they're like, oh my gosh,
Oh, no,
during
my
camp,
camp
like,
yeah.
oh no.
It's
Poor
so
staff
great.
was worried about getting in trouble.
I loved it though. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that, and I know that a lot of the staff appreciated it too. So use those words. Good idea, Beth. All right, Gabrielle, one more tip from you. What you got?
Yeah. Well, I just also, I would like to just comment on Beth's piece. I think whatever we're doing here, Beth is so great with language and she's so intentional with her words. And I think that, tapping into what, not only what you're good about, but good at, but you're also passionate about, and sharing that with your staff members, I find that really connects with people. So I'm going to go to mine, which is, when you have your staff at camp during staff training, why not throw them a birthday party, everybody's birthday party. And there doesn't need to be any lessons that are involved. There doesn't need to be any metaphor, though of course you can bring those in. Just the pure experience of having a program just for them is, that's obviously a lesson in itself. But lift all of the tables up so that they feel like they're 5 years old, in the dining room. Make sure that, birthday cakes has everybody's name on it per table. Have little toys, such as, for me, dinosaurs, those little mini dinosaurs, that's my thing. And Lego's my thing as well. And something that they can take home. Make sure that we have games, and spend time thanking each person for being here, for being born, for being a person on the planet the same time that you are on this planet, because they're here, your life is better. And celebrate everybody's birthday at camp, with sparklers and so on and so forth. Whatever, tickles your fancy, share that with your staff members, and really make it a celebration for them, but also something where they can be, quote unquote, a kid again, where it is just pure fun, and a celebration of them.
That's awesome.
And that reminded me, Gab, too, I had another idea I forgot to say earlier when I was talking about the little trinkets that you could purchase. Like, what if you got minifigs made for your staff, of camp staff, with your, some sort of staff uniform, whatever? Wouldn't that be fun? That would be far more costly, but wouldn't that be fun to do some Lego that way?
Yes. And I think, I use little mini dinosaurs. Sometimes I'll line them up almost like they're creating the alleyway to my session. And so I have just a huge line of all these little mini dinosaurs, and then they can pick up that dinosaur and then they try to match another dinosaur, the same dinosaur together, it makes the teams and all that kind of stuff. And I remember once I said, now that is your dinosaur for the rest of the summer. The smiles on everybody's faces are like, this is my dinosaur, and this is something that I care about. And I'm literally, my staff would come up and be like, thank you so much for my dinosaur. Those trinkets that you're giving to your staff member, as long as you're putting meaning to those trinkets, that's what really makes the difference.
That's great. Yeah, I that makes me think of a camp here. I think they still do this, but they would give all the staff a penny that they'd drill a little hole through, and then the staff make it into a necklace, right? And they wear it all summer. You see how the penny changes as you've worn it all summer, and that represents the change you've experienced over the summer as well. And it's like, oh, that's Beth Allison style.
It is straight out of her wallet.
So good. Awesome. Well, I've got one more tip for you. And that is, I think it's a great idea. Again, sometime before your camp season starts, you could even do this as an evening program during training. Not to have a talent show, but just to have some straight up show and tell. So create some time, because 9 months potentially goes by, maybe even more, depending on how long your camp season is, between when your staff have seen each other. And yes, we stay connected via social media potentially, but to give staff a time just to kind of say like, hey, this is something I accomplished this year that I'm excited about, or even this is something that I really struggled with this year, and I want you to know this going into this season. Or check out this song that I learned, like I didn't know how to play the guitar and I was working on it last year, and look how far I've come. But that, again, kind of being a kid again and being in first grade and having that show and tell time when you show off your pet or you show off your tooth you lost, whatever it might be. I think creating a little time and space that can be done virtually. It can be done in person. It could be done right now. It could be done closer to when camp starts, to as a way to bring your staff together and even invite some of your new staff in so that they can, see like, oh, who are these people that I'm going to be meeting in real life here in not too long. But that show and tell time, I think, can be really, really key. And just a little bit of holding space goes a long way for your staff feeling like they are seen and known and needed and cared for. So I encourage you to do that. All right. Any other thoughts on this? Any bonus tips?
I think I'm out.
All right. Gabrielle, it's time for the recap. Let's hear it, please.
Recap, recap. All right. So how to delight your staff. First and foremost, one of my by far favorite tips of this podcast is Beth Allison saying, ask your staff. I love that. And I love the idea of recipe cards. I know Travis and Beth talk about those often, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. And it also taps into staff members connecting with themselves on what they need to be happy. Ding, ding, ding. That's a double bonus. So ask your staff, start there. And then while you're at it, think about what life situation that they might be in and reach out to them. Exams, first jobs, use Buongiorno, use Marco Polo. There's also a voice software that starts with yak and ends with yak, just yak basically for Slack. But what you want to do is reach out to your staff members, not because of a job, not because of camp, but just saying, hey, I see you. I know it's in the middle of the year and you're important to me. And that goes a long way with staff members. Have you thought of a state of your camp address, big announcements, shifts, change, and also an ask for your staff, and you get staff to participate? Well, then that means they're also connecting with you throughout the year, which hopefully will lead them to connecting with you during the summer. Also, don't forget to say it out loud. A simple thank you in front of staff members and saying why you appreciate somebody, but also being specific is just as important. But saying out loud costs no money and everybody gets to hear, and you feel special, just like Ruby and I felt special while Beth said those lovely, lovely words about us. At the end of the day, what we're trying to aim for is sincerity and connecting with every single person that is making a difference in the lives of kids. And that's what our staff do. They are making a positive impact. And when we take one moment to think on how we can thank our staff members, I'm sure that you will have many tips and tricks to share with us on Camp Code.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing those. Gabrielle, I was on a call with the folks, first class counselor, and we were talking about how special your recap is every time, and how, it's just a very wonderful talent that you have to recap.
Thank you.
So thanks for bringing that to the table. Well, my friends,
stuff to recap, there's good content. I only suggested it because I was like, this is really good stuff. We need to remember this information.
I love it. Oh, so great. Well, friends, if you want to get involved with our podcast, tell us your thoughts on this episode using the hashtag Camp Code. You can also tell us what topics you'd like for us to discuss, any guests that you recommend we have on the show, any great leadership training tips that you want to share. We'd love to hear from you because we are all about sharing in this industry. Truthfully, some of our most listened to podcast episodes are ones that were listener suggested topics. So let us know what you want us to talk about. Also, if you found this podcast to be useful, please leave us a rating and or review in your podcasting app. Your feedback really helps keep the show going. And we love our reviewers so much that we're sharing our highlights here. And I would share one today, but we don't have any new reviews. So help us out. Get on your podcasting app, leave a short review. We may even read it here live on air. We want you to be in touch if you have questions or comments about today's episode. And so this is how you can get in touch with us. Beth?
You can email me directly at beth@gocamp.pro. I'm on Instagram as topaz_faye and on Twitter as Topaz.
Gabrielle.
And you can reach me at gabs@waro.com. Check out where I work at waro.com. And you can also check me out at Gabrielle Raill
with 2 L's for Gabrielle Raill. And my friends, you can find me Ruby at rubyoutdoors.com. You can find me on Instagram at rubyoutdoors. And you can also follow me on Twitter at rubylyn85. For our next podcast, Beth, you want to share what we're going to be talking about?
We will be talking about all that we learned at the Women in Camp Summit live virtual event, which is our 3rd annual Women in Camp Summit, but our first virtual one. And it starts, as we are recording this, in less than 48 hours. So we're all really excited and a little bit stressed.
Yes. Well said.
Yes.
Well said. Okay, so friends, our final segment on each podcast is a best practice for leadership training, and we would love to hear some of your memorable moments or most effective tips. You can tell us what they are using that hashtag #CampCode, and Gabrielle has this week's best practice.
Thanks, Ruby. So it's no secret. I'm very open that I have learning differences, and one of my skill set, because of my learning differences, was to find the people in the classroom that were great at note taking and become friends with them, and then learn from them. And so that experience for me in college and in university was so helpful, because good note takers can really help translate information of what the person is talking about and filter it in a way that sometimes is it just is another level of understanding. And so for me at camp, why don't we have note takers in sessions? Why don't you select certain people and rotate them in and out to take notes? And it can be as simple as, what are the 3 takeaways from this session? Why is it important to know this information? And of course, the title, the time, and who is giving this session. This will be also very helpful for next year for consistency sake, and also would be helpful for the speaker to look over these notes to see if there's anything that they're missing. Take it one step further, photocopy these notes, post it up for other people to see and look at, but have note takers for the majority of your sessions at camp. And also for those people that might not have been able to attend for whatever reason, registering for school, family emergency, or just weren't there on time, we have the notes of that session. So not just from the speaker, but from somebody in the audience. And that is my best practice of today's podcast.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for listening. Camp Code is part of the Go Camp Pro podcast network. You can check out all our other podcasts at gocamp.pro/podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode. And from all of us here at Camp Code, thanks for the listening, friends.